He thought you'd crumble. He thought you'd beg, break down, or blame yourself. Because that's what most women do when a man cuts deep, with his silence, his cold words, or his sudden distance. But you're not most women. You're about to rewrite the entire story. Let me ask you something real. Have you ever sat there, replaying the moment he hurt you? Emotionally, mentally, maybe even in a way so subtle it didn't hit you until later? And did you fall into the trap he secretly expected? You cried. You explained. You confronted. Or you withdrew, hoping he'd notice your pain. But here's the truth nobody tells you. Men don't remember what you say. They remember how you make them feel. And if you really want to flip the power dynamic, if you want him to feel your absence like a storm, to question his own behavior, to chase the mystery of your silence, you don't react. You rise. You become unpredictable, unreadable, unforgettable. Picture this. He pulls away. And instead of chasing, you lean back in your power. He throws words like knives. And instead of bleeding, you smile like you know a secret he never will. Now he's the one wondering, regretting, reaching. That's not revenge. That's evolution. Today, I'm going to show you exactly how to confuse a man who tried to hurt you. 8 game-changing shifts that will leave him questioning everything he thought he knew about you. And maybe, just maybe, realizing he just lost the one woman who was actually worth the fight. Stick with me until the end, because what I'm about to share might just change the way you handle every man from this point forward. Let's begin. 1. Stay calm and unbothered. Imagine this. He just did something that hurt you. Maybe he suddenly became distant, stopped texting as much, or cancelled plans at the last minute without an apology. Maybe he made a careless comment that stung, or worse, acted like your feelings didn't matter. Your first instinct? Probably to react, to confront him, ask for answers, or show him how much he hurt you. But what if I told you that doing nothing at all could be the most powerful move you could make? Men expect emotional reactions from women. They are wired to anticipate anger, sadness, frustration, something that signals they've affected you. But when you give him the opposite of what he expects, when you remain completely unbothered, something fascinating happens. He starts to question himself. He wonders why you're not reacting. He wonders if you even care. And most importantly, he wonders if he might be losing his hold over you. Now, let's break this down. When a man pulls away, cancels plans, or does something inconsiderate, he expects a response. He expects you to text him with a disappointed tone, ask him what's wrong, or express frustration. Maybe he even expects an argument. But instead of doing what every other woman would do, you take a deep breath, smile, and move on as if nothing happened. You respond casually, effortlessly, as though his actions didn't even register as important enough to affect your mood. If he says, "Hey, I can't make it tonight," instead of asking why or showing disappointment, you simply reply, "No worries, have a great night," and then you disappear. No follow-up texts, no passive-aggressive energy, nothing. This subtle shift in your response is powerful. Why? Because it forces him to question his own behavior. If he's used to women getting upset when he acts out, your lack of reaction will make him wonder, did I misjudge her feelings for me? Is she actually that secure? Does she have someone else keeping her occupied? The mind of a man is wired to chase and to figure things out. When he expects a reaction and gets silence, confusion sets in, and confusion creates curiosity, and curiosity, that's what makes people start paying attention. Think of it like this. Imagine you're used to getting a certain reaction from pushing a button. Every time you press it, a light turns on. But one day, you press the button and nothing happens. What do? You press it again. You check if something's wrong. You start paying more attention, not less. That's exactly what happens when you stop reacting predictably. There's also something deeply attractive about a woman who is emotionally self-sufficient. When a man realizes that you don't need him to validate you, that your happiness doesn't depend on how he treats you, he sees you in a completely new light. Instead of thinking, "She's waiting for my attention," he starts thinking, "What's keeping her so unbothered?" This is where the power of Stoicism comes into play. A love Stoic woman doesn't let external events shake her. She remains steady, unshaken, and in control of herself no matter what a man does. And that in itself is magnetic. But let's be clear, being calm and unbothered doesn't mean suppressing your feelings or pretending you don't care when you do. It means choosing your response wisely. It means knowing when to engage and when to disengage. It's about showing that you have standards, not by telling him, not by arguing, but by demonstrating through your actions that you refuse to entertain behavior that doesn't meet your level of respect. One of the best ways to reinforce this mindset is through your actions outside of him. Instead of focusing on what he's doing, focus on you. The next time he disappoints you, don't waste your energy dissecting his behavior. Pour that energy into yourself. Go to the gym, book that trip, meet up with your friends, start that new project you've been procrastinating on. And don't do it to make him jealous or to get his attention. Do it because you deserve a life that is rich, fulfilling, and exciting regardless of what any man is doing. When he sees you thriving, not faking it, but truly enjoying your life without needing his presence, it will mess with his head in the best possible way. And here's the key. The moment he senses that his actions don't shake you, he will come closer. It's not manipulation, it's human nature. People want what feels just out of reach. When he realizes that you are not chasing, not reacting, not emotionally dependent on his every move, he will feel a sudden shift in the power dynamic. The man who was once taking you for granted will now be the one who's wondering where he stands with you. If you're wondering whether this actually works, think about your past experiences. Have you ever noticed how the men you weren't that invested in always seemed to chase you harder? Have you ever pulled away from someone slightly only to find that they started trying harder to win your attention? That's because human beings are wired to desire what they feel they don't fully have. The moment you step back and reclaim your energy, you become the prize. And let's talk about what happens if you don't do this. If you react emotionally every time he pulls away, if you constantly ask for reassurance, if you let his actions dictate your mood, you reinforce one thing. He controls the relationship dynamic. And the more he feels like he has control, the less he values your presence. So the next time a man does something that hurts you, instead of reacting impulsively, take a deep breath and remember, your response is your power. Give him the unexpected. Give him peace instead of chaos. Give him indifference instead of desperation. And watch as his perception of you shifts entirely. Now, imagine him sitting alone at night, wondering why you're so different from every other woman he's known, wondering why his usual tactics don't work on you, wondering if he just lost something truly valuable. That's the moment he realizes you are not just another woman. You are a woman who cannot be controlled, a woman who knows her worth. And that, my dear, is when you truly become unforgettable. 2. Be mysteriously busy. Have you ever noticed that the less available you are, the more people seem to want your attention? It's almost like human nature pulls us toward things that feel just out of reach. And when it comes to men, this is even more powerful. If a man has hurt you, whether intentionally or carelessly, the last thing you should do is sit around waiting for him to fix it. Instead, you should become a mystery he can't quite figure out. Think about this. When he first met you, he was probably intrigued by your life, your energy, your presence. But over time, if he started taking you for granted, it's likely because he felt like he had you all figured out. The moment a man assumes you're always there, always waiting, always available at his convenience, he unconsciously stops valuing your time. That's why the solution is so simple yet so effective. Make him feel your absence without announcing it. Instead of chasing or seeking validation, you subtly shift your focus from him to you. Suddenly, you're not checking your phone for his messages because you're genuinely too busy enjoying your life. You're not available to meet up on short notice because you have plans that don't revolve around him. And most importantly, you're not explaining or justifying your schedule. You simply become a woman who is effortlessly out of reach. Now, let's paint a picture. He sends you a casual, "Hey, what's up?" text at 10 p.m. The old version of you might have replied instantly, engaging in small talk, hoping this meant he was still interested. But the new version of you don't even see the message until the next morning because you are out having fun, focusing on yourself, or simply enjoying a peaceful night. And when you do reply, it's light, warm, but brief. "Hey, just saw this. Had a crazy night with my girls. Hope you're doing well. Do you see what just happened?" You responded, but you also left him wondering, what was she doing? Who was she with? Why didn't she see my message sooner? You didn't ignore him, but you also didn't make him the center of your world. That's the key. The trick here is to let your actions speak for you. Don't tell him, "I'm busy." Show him. The next time he asks to see you last minute, don't rearrange your schedule. Simply say, "I wish I could, but I've got plans tonight. Let's plan ahead next time." And then leave it at that. No over-explaining, no guilt, just an effortless, confident sense of independence. And trust me, that will drive him crazy. This is where the concept of love stoic living comes into play. A love stoic woman doesn't just pretend to have a life outside of a man, she actually does. She invests in herself, her growth, her happiness. She understands that the most attractive thing she can be is a woman whose life is already fulfilling, with or without him. And the moment he senses that he is not your source of joy, he will start wondering what he needs to do to earn a place in your world again. But let's take this even further. What happens when a man sees that you are moving differently, that you are no longer waiting on his time, that you are thriving in your own lane, that you are genuinely happy without needing his validation? That's when he starts to panic. That's when he realizes he might be losing something rare. Because men, by nature, are hunters. They don't chase what they already have. They chase what feels just out of reach. Have you ever had a man who wasn't texting you much suddenly start blowing up your phone the moment you became distant? That's not a coincidence. That's because men are drawn to what they feel they might lose. And the moment you become mysteriously busy, unavailable in the most effortless way, he feels that shift. He starts thinking, what changed? Why isn't she as available as before? Did she meet someone else? And before he even realizes it, he's back in pursuit mode. But here's the best part. This isn't about playing games. It's not about making him jealous or manipulating him into wanting you. It's about truly becoming the woman who is so deeply engaged in her own life that no man, no matter how much she cares about him, can ever become the center of her universe. And the irony? That's exactly what makes her so irresistible. So if you've been sitting around waiting for him to fix things, waiting for him to show you that he cares, stop. Shift your focus, get busy. And not in a forced way, but in a way that genuinely brings you joy. Take up that new hobby, go out with your friends, start that passion project, and most importantly, stop explaining yourself. The less he knows about what's keeping you busy, the more intrigued he'll be. The more he'll start wondering, did I take her for granted? And when he reaches out and realizes that you are no longer waiting around for him, when he starts feeling like he's on the outside of your world instead of comfortably at the center, he will snap back into action. He will start making plans in advance. He will start checking in more often. He will start chasing you instead of the other way around. Now, if this is resonating with you, if you've ever seen this dynamic play out in your life, let me know. In the comments, type number 1 if you're loving this video so far. And if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe because we're only getting started. And trust me, you don't want to miss what's coming next. 3. Mirror his behavior. Men are incredibly perceptive, but not always in the ways women expect. They might not notice a new haircut or the subtle shift in your tone when you're upset, but they always notice changes in energy, especially when it affects how much attention they're getting. And this is where the art of mirroring his behavior becomes your secret weapon. What does this mean exactly? It means that instead of overthinking his every move, instead of trying to decode his sudden distance or emotional shifts, you simply match his energy. If he starts texting less, you text less. If he takes hours to reply, you take hours to reply. If he starts acting detached, you pull back in the same way. But here's the trick. You don't do it with resentment or attitude. You do it calmly, effortlessly, like it was your natural rhythm all along. This is powerful because it forces a man to experience his own behavior from the outside. When he realizes that the attention he once took for granted is no longer there, he will feel the shift. And feeling that shift is what creates a moment of reckoning for him. It's what makes him pause and ask himself, why isn't she responding the way she used to? Did something change? Is she losing interest? The beauty of mirroring is that it keeps you from overextending yourself. Too often, when a man pulls away, a woman's instinct is to lean in. She starts texting more, asking if everything is okay, trying to close the emotional distance he's creating. And while this comes from a place of care, it has the opposite effect. The more you chase, the further he withdraws. But when you pull back just as he does, something different happens. He starts noticing your absence. Think of it like this. Imagine you're holding a rope in a game of tug-of-war. As long as you're pulling with force, the person on the other end has no choice but to resist. But the moment you let go of the rope, they suddenly lose their balance. That's exactly what happens when you mirror a man's energy instead of trying to fix, chase, or compensate for his actions. But here's the key. Mirroring isn't about playing games or trying to make him suffer. It's about self-respect. It's about sending a silent message that says, I don't chase, I don't beg, I don't overcompensate for your lack of effort. When he pulls back, instead of falling into anxiety or trying to win him over, you let the space exist. You show him through your actions that you are a woman who responds to effort with effort and distance with distance, and that is magnetic. Let's take a real-life scenario. He used to text you every morning, but suddenly he stops. Instead of panicking, instead of wondering what went wrong, instead of filling the silence with messages that say, hey, everything okay? You simply adapt. You stop texting first. You let him experience what it feels like when your energy is no longer pouring into him. And guess what? If he's used to having your attention as a given, this shift will make him uncomfortable. And when men feel discomfort, they act. This is where Stoicism plays a role. The ability to control your response, to remain emotionally steady, regardless of external changes, is what sets you apart. A love Stoic woman doesn't waste energy trying to analyze a man's every move. She moves with him, not against him. If he's consistent and present, she responds in kind. If he's distant, she gracefully steps back. She never clings. She never begs for reassurance. She lets him feel the distance he's creating. And here's the magic of this approach. It puts the responsibility back on him. It makes him accountable for his own behavior, instead of him assuming you'll always be there. Always waiting, always responding instantly, he starts realizing that your engagement is something that needs to be earned, and men respect what they have to work for. But let's be clear, mirroring isn't about being cold or manipulative. It's not about playing mind games or punishing him. It's about learning to read the energy of a relationship and respond accordingly. It's about recognizing when effort is balanced and when it's not, and having the self-respect to match the level of investment he's giving you. A lot of women struggle with this because they feel like pulling back means losing the connection. But the reality is you don't lose the right man by mirroring his energy. If he cares, if he values you, if he respects what you bring into his life, he will notice the shift and step up. And if he doesn't, then you just got your answer about where you stand in his life. Either way, you win. There's something deeply attractive about a woman who doesn't overextend herself for a man who isn't meeting her halfway. She exudes a quiet confidence, a self-assuredness that makes people take notice. And the irony? The moment a man starts feeling like he's not the center of her world, he starts wanting to be. He starts initiating more, he starts texting first again, he starts realizing that he wants to be the one putting in effort because effort is the only way he can pull her closer. Now, imagine this. He sends a late-night text expecting you to reply immediately, like you always do, but instead, you wait. Maybe you don't even respond until the next morning, and when you do, it's casual, light, effortless. No frustration, no passive aggressiveness, just pure ease. He will notice, he will wonder, and most importantly, he will adjust. This is the quiet power of mirroring. It requires no words, no confrontation, no over-explaining. It's just a simple shift in how you respond to what he's already doing, and when done right, it will completely change the dynamic, not because you forced it, but because you allowed him to feel the natural consequences of his own actions. So the next time you feel like a man is pulling away, resist the urge to fill the gap. Instead, step back and let him experience what it's like when your presence is no longer a given. Give him space to miss you. Give him room to realize your value, and most importantly, give yourself permission to be a woman who never has to beg for love, attention, or effort. Because the moment you embody that mindset, you won't just confuse him, you'll transform the way men see you forever. 4. Respond with kindness but not clinginess. There's something incredibly powerful about responding to disrespect, distance, or hurt with unexpected kindness, but only if it's done the right way. Most people assume that when a man treats you poorly, the best response is to either confront him or pull away completely. And while there's truth in knowing when to walk away, there's also another level of power, kindness that doesn't beg. Think about it. When someone expects anger, expects a fight, expects drama, and instead they receive effortless grace, it shakes them. It forces them to reconsider their actions. This isn't about pretending that bad behavior doesn't affect you. It's about mastering your emotional reactions so that you stay in control. When a man does something hurtful, instead of showing him that he succeeded in making you upset, you show him calm confidence. Let's say he's been distant. Maybe he didn't text you back for days, or maybe he acted cold the last time you saw him. The usual reaction would be to either demand answers or pull away completely, but instead you take a different route. The next time he reaches out, instead of ignoring him or sending a passive-aggressive text, you respond warmly but briefly. For example, he finally texts, "Hey, how have you been?" Instead of writing a long message explaining how his absence made you feel, you simply say, "Hey, hope you're doing great. Been super busy, but all is well." That's it. No bitterness, no confrontation, no over-explaining, just effortless kindness. And suddenly, he's left wondering, wait, why isn't she upset? Why isn't she calling me out? Did she even notice my behavior? This is where the real confusion begins. He was expecting drama, he was expecting an emotional reaction, but instead he got ease. And ease is disarming, but here's the key. Kindness is not the same as weakness. Too often, women mistake being kind for tolerating bad behavior. They think that if they respond warmly, they need to keep letting the man do whatever he wants. That's not the point. The point is to respond with grace while maintaining strong boundaries. Think of it like this. A queen doesn't argue with people who insult her. She doesn't lose her temper or chase after validation. She simply acknowledges what's beneath her and moves on with grace. That's exactly the energy you want to bring into your interactions. If he disrespects you, you remove yourself, but you do it effortlessly without hostility. If he disappears for a while and comes back, you acknowledge, but you don't reward inconsistency. If he expects you to chase him after he's hurt you, you show kindness, but you don't overcompensate. Let's go deeper. Imagine he's being emotionally unavailable. He's not putting in as much effort, and you can feel the shift. Instead of demanding more from him, you simply start investing your energy elsewhere. You still respond when he reaches out, but you're not as present as before. You're not bitter, but you're also not overgiving. And that's when something fascinating happens. Men notice when their presence no longer feels essential to you. They feel it when their inconsistency doesn't earn a dramatic reaction anymore. And it's in that space of ease, of kindness without attachment, that they start feeling uneasy, because now he's left wondering, did she move on? Is she seeing someone else? Did I just lose my place in her life? This is the foundation of love Stoic energy, the ability to maintain kindness without clinging to someone who isn't showing up fully for you. Stoicism in love doesn't mean being cold, it means being unshaken. It means knowing that your value is not determined by how a man treats you, but by how you choose to respond. Think about the last time someone treated you with indifference. If you reacted emotionally, did it change their behavior? Probably not. But if you responded with grace and distance, I bet you noticed a shift. That's because people crave what they feel is just out of reach. And let's be real, being effortlessly kind feels amazing. It means you're not wasting energy on resentment, you're not holding on to negativity, you're simply choosing peace over drama. But here's the best part. Men are magnetized to women who radiate peace. When a man realizes that you're a woman who doesn't break, doesn't beg, and doesn't lower herself to chase his affection, he starts craving your presence even more. So if you've been struggling with how to handle a man who hurt you, take this approach. Respond with kindness. But don't cling. Acknowledge. But don't overinvest. Keep your energy high, your standards even higher, and watch how effortlessly men start shifting their energy towards you. Now, if this is resonating with you, let me know. Type number 1 in the comments if you're loving this video so far, and if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe, because what's coming next is going to change the way you handle relationships forever. 5. Raise your standards. If there's one thing that will truly confuse a man who has hurt you, it's this. Leveling up your standards without saying a word. No emotional outbursts, no pleading for change, no dramatic ultimatums, just a quiet, unwavering shift in what you allow in your life. Because here's the truth. A man will only treat you at the level you allow. When a man disrespects you, pulls away, or acts carelessly, most women instinctively try to fix it. They explain, they justify. They try to make him understand why his behavior is hurtful. It's not about playing hard to get or pretending you don't care. It's about truly embodying a version of yourself that no longer settles. It's about deciding that you are worthy of effort, consistency, and deep respect, and then living that truth unapologetically. This is where Stoicism comes into play. A love Stoic woman doesn't beg for change. She doesn't engage in endless discussions about why a man should treat her better. She simply removes herself from situations that don't align with her value. She leads by example, and in doing so, she naturally attracts men who recognize her worth, or she leaves behind the ones who never would have. And the best part? Raising your standards doesn't just confuse the man who hurt you, it transforms the way every man sees you, because now, you're no longer the woman who over-explains her needs or tolerates inconsistent effort. You're the woman who commands respect simply by how she lives her life. If you've ever wondered why some women seem to have men constantly chasing after them, while others struggle to get the bare minimum, this is why. The difference isn't in looks or charm, it's in the way they hold themselves. It's in the unspoken message they send with every interaction. I don't settle. And here's the reality. Not every man will rise to meet your new standard. Some will fall away. Some will test you, hoping you'll return to your old patterns. But the ones who are meant to be in your life, they will adjust. They will see that you are not a woman who tolerates excuses, and they will either step up or step aside. Either way, you win. So the next time a man disrespects you, don't explain, don't argue, don't try to make him see your worth. Simply show him by walking, by shifting, by refusing to entertain anything less than what you truly deserve. Because once you make that shift, you'll never have to question a man's intentions again. He will either value you or he will lose you. And that is the ultimate power. 6. Level up your life. There is no greater confusion for a man who has hurt you than watching you level up without him. When a woman shifts her energy from waiting, wondering, or wishing things were different, and instead turns that energy inward toward her own growth, something incredible happens. She becomes unstoppable. And the man who thought he had her figured out? He starts questioning everything. Most women, when they feel hurt, channel their energy in the wrong direction. They either try to fix the situation, seeking closure, explanations, or reassurance, or they withdraw into sadness, hoping he'll notice their pain and return with apologies. But what if you did neither? What if, instead of reacting emotionally, you poured every ounce of that energy into transforming your life? Imagine the version of yourself who doesn't sit around analyzing his behavior, but instead becomes so focused on her own elevation that he can't help but take notice. This isn't about pretending you're happy without him. It's about actually becoming the woman who thrives regardless of his presence. It's about stepping so deeply into your own power that the thought of begging for attention or dwelling on someone's inconsistency becomes laughable. Because suddenly your life is filled with so much purpose, so much ambition, so much joy that he is no longer the center of your world. And that, my dear, is when men start chasing. Imagine this. He hurt you, maybe by pulling away, maybe by treating you as an afterthought. He expects you to linger in sadness, to wait for him to come back, to be right where he left you. But instead, you become unrecognizable. You start hitting the gym, not for revenge, but because you deserve to feel strong and powerful. You start prioritizing your goals, your passions, your dreams, not as a performance, but because your life is worth more than waiting around for a man's attention. You stop explaining yourself. You stop seeking answers, and instead, you create a life so fulfilling that the thought of him becomes a footnote, not the story. And what does he do? At first, he might not notice, but over time, as he realizes that your energy has shifted, that you are no longer available for the version of him who took you for granted, he will feel it. He will wonder. He will start watching, trying to understand why you no longer respond the way you used to. And in his mind, the question will form, did I lose her for good? This is where Stoicism plays a key role. A love Stoic woman doesn't level up to get revenge. She doesn't glow up to make him jealous. She does it for herself, because she understands that pain, when used correctly, is fuel. She doesn't drown in emotion. She transforms it into power. And that is what truly confuses a man, not drama, not manipulation, but watching the woman he once hurt become someone he might never have access to again. And let's talk about how this transformation feels for you. When you shift your focus from him to you, your entire energy changes. Suddenly, you're no longer waiting for a message or hoping he'll change. You're out there living, laughing, evolving. And the moment you stop seeking his validation is the moment you become magnetic, because men aren't drawn to women who chase them. They are drawn to women who are already whole. Now, let's be honest, not every man will return once you level up, and that's a good thing, because the ones who do, they will come back different. They will come back knowing that the version of you they once took for granted no longer exists. And if they don't come back, even better, because you'll be too busy creating a life that makes you genuinely happy to even care. So, if you've ever felt stuck, if you've ever wondered how to respond when a man hurts you, this is your answer. You don't chase, you don't explain, you don't sit in sadness hoping he'll see your worth. You level up, you evolve so powerfully that his only choices are to either rise with you or watch you shine from a distance. Either way, you win. Now, if this is resonating with you, let me know. Type number 1 in the comments if you're loving this video so far. And if you haven't yet, make sure to subscribe, because the next part is going to take things to a whole new level, and trust me, you don't want to miss it. 7. Leave him guessing with unpredictable reactions. Nothing confuses a man more than a woman who is unpredictable in the most effortless way, a woman who doesn't react the way he expects, who keeps him on his toes, who makes him question whether he ever truly understood her at all. Most men assume they can predict how a woman will respond to certain situations, especially if they've hurt her. They expect anger, they expect coldness, or worst of all, they expect that she will try to talk things out, giving them the upper hand in controlling the emotional dynamic. But what if you did something completely different? What if, instead of being an open book, you became a mystery he couldn't quite solve? Think about this. If a man says something dismissive or insensitive, most women either lash out in frustration or shrink back in hurt. But a woman who is truly in control of herself, she doesn't do either. Instead, she responds in a way that throws him off balance. Maybe she laughs and changes the subject. Maybe she acts completely unfazed, like his words had no effect on her at all. Maybe instead of pushing for an apology, she simply disappears for a while, leaving him to wonder what's going on in her mind. And that's when the shift happens, because suddenly he's the one left analyzing every detail. This approach isn't about playing games. It's about breaking patterns. If a man gets used to a predictable response, he starts feeling too comfortable, too sure of himself. But when you break the pattern, when you react in ways that make him pause and rethink, you rewire the way he perceives you. He starts realizing that you are not like the other women he's known. You are not easy to categorize. You are a puzzle, not a predictable equation. Imagine he texts you after days of silence, expecting you to be cold or confrontational. Instead, you respond warmly but briefly with a simple, "Hey, hope you're doing well." No demands, no frustration, no emotional weight, just lightness. He won't know what to do with that. He expected to either be ignored or be met with tension. But instead, you reset the energy, leaving him unsure of where he stands with you, and uncertainty is the foundation of attraction. Let's go even deeper. If he assumes you'll always be available, always ready to respond, always eager to engage, switch things up. If he texts at midnight, don't reply until the next day. If he reaches out to make last-minute plans, casually mention that you're busy and leave it at that, not in a way that feels forced or manipulative, but in a way that reflects the reality of your high-value life. Because the truth is, the less predictable you are, the more valuable your presence becomes, and here's where Stoicism becomes your greatest strength. A love Stoic woman doesn't overreact to situations. She doesn't hand over her emotions on a silver platter. She controls the rhythm of the conversation, the tone of the interaction, the balance of the relationship. When something shifts, instead of panicking or trying to force stability, she simply lets it unfold. And that, ironically, makes the man more attached, because now he's the one seeking certainty. Now, let's flip the script for a moment. Have you ever noticed how men tend to act more distant when they feel too secure in a relationship? That's because comfort without challenge breeds complacency. But the moment a man feels even the slightest uncertainty, when he starts wondering, does she still feel the same way? Is she losing interest? That's when his energy shifts. Suddenly, he's checking his phone more. Suddenly, he's putting in effort again. Suddenly, he's the one feeling emotionally invested. This doesn't mean you should be inconsistent or play games just to keep his attention. It means you should never be predictable to the point of becoming boring. There should always be a level of excitement, of unpredictability, of intrigue in your energy. Because men don't fall for what they fully understand. They fall for what keeps them curious. So if you've been handling things the same way, always reacting the way he expects, always being available, always making things too easy, switch it up, surprise him, show him that just when he thinks he knows you, he still has more to learn, and in doing so, you won't just confuse him, you'll make him obsessed. 8. Show him you have options. Nothing unsettles a man more than realizing he is not your only option. When a man thinks he has you completely, that you're waiting for him, hoping he'll change, or worse, settling for whatever crumbs of attention he gives you, he feels no urgency to step up. But the moment he senses that you are a woman who is valued, desired, and in demand, his entire perspective shifts, and suddenly he's no longer just confident in your loyalty. He's worried about losing you. Most women unknowingly make the mistake of centering their world around one man too soon. They invest emotionally, mentally, and even physically in someone who hasn't fully earned them yet. But here's the secret. When a man thinks he is your only option, he stops working to keep you. The dynamic changes. He becomes complacent. He assumes your patience is endless, and he starts taking you for granted. But when you subtly remind him, without words, without games, that you are a woman who can walk away at any moment, a woman who is not waiting for him to decide whether or not he wants you, he wakes up. This isn't about making him jealous in an obvious way. It's about shifting your energy so profoundly that he can feel the difference. It's in the way you carry yourself, the way you no longer wait around for his attention, the way you engage with the world around you. It's in how your life is filled with excitement, with social interactions, with other men who see your value. And the moment he senses that he is no longer the center of your universe, he will feel the loss before you even leave. Imagine this scenario. He's been inconsistent, giving you half-hearted effort, assuming you'll always be there. Instead of calling him out, instead of demanding more, you shift your energy. You start going out more, not to make him jealous, but because you are genuinely prioritizing your happiness. You engage in conversations with other men, not flirtatiously, but effortlessly, naturally. You show up looking radiant, confident, alive. And when he texts, you're no longer immediately available. Your responses are warm, but they no longer carry the weight of someone desperately waiting for his validation. And here's the magic in this. He will notice. He will see the change. Not because you told him, but because your presence no longer feels as predictable as before. He'll start wondering who's been capturing your attention, who's been making you smile when he's not around. He will start realizing that if he doesn't step up, someone else will. This is where Stoicism becomes powerful. A love Stoic woman doesn't chase, she doesn't beg, she doesn't play games. She simply exists in a state of undeniable value, knowing that men are naturally drawn to what they feel they must work for. And when a man realizes that you are a woman with options, not because you flaunt it, but because you embody it, he cannot ignore it. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how men suddenly become more attentive when they sense competition? How they start putting in effort when they feel like they might lose you? That's because desire is fueled by uncertainty. A man who is too sure of you stops valuing what he has. But a man who senses that you are a woman who could choose to walk away at any moment, that's when he steps up. That's when he chooses you intentionally. But here's the key. You must genuinely believe this about yourself. This isn't about pretending to have options. It's about knowing that you do, knowing that your value isn't tied to one man's attention, knowing that you are always a woman worth pursuing, worth cherishing, worth committing to. And the moment you start living in this truth, the energy you put out into the world will attract exactly what you deserve. So if you've been waiting, wondering, hoping he'll finally give you the effort you deserve, stop. Redirect your focus. Let him feel what it's like when your world is no longer orbiting around him, and watch how quickly he starts stepping up. Because when a man realizes he is no longer your only option, he has two choices. Rise to meet your value or watch someone else claim what he took for granted. Either way, you win. Now, if you're loving this video, let me know. Type number 1 in the comments if this is resonating with you. And if you haven't already, subscribe, because what's coming next is going to completely change the way you handle relationships forever. When a man hurts you, your reaction can either reinforce his behavior or make him rethink everything he thought he knew about you. The difference? How you choose to respond. Most women fall into predictable patterns, reacting emotionally, over-explaining, trying to fix things, or withdrawing in silence, hoping he'll notice. But the moment you step into your power, shift your energy, and break these patterns, you change the game entirely. You confuse him not by playing games, but by showing him that you are a woman he cannot control. A woman who does not chase. A woman who is so secure in her worth that his actions do not shake her. When you stay calm and unbothered, he starts questioning why you're no longer affected. When you become mysteriously busy, he begins to feel your absence. When you mirror his behavior, he gets a taste of his own distance. When you respond with kindness, but not clinginess, he realizes he no longer has emotional control over you. When you raise your standards, he understands that he has to earn his place in your life. When you level up, he sees that your happiness no longer depends on him. When you become unpredictable, he starts craving your attention. And when you show him you have options, he realizes that he is no longer your only choice. All of these shifts don't just confuse a man. They force him to reevaluate his own actions. Because suddenly, the woman he once thought he could take for granted is gone, replaced by someone stronger, more confident, and more desirable than ever before. And whether he decides to step up or step out, the truth remains the same. You win. You win because you refuse to settle, because you refuse to let his behavior define your worth, because you chose to prioritize yourself. That is the ultimate power. That is the ultimate attraction. That is how you not only confuse a man, but how you make him see you in a way he never has before. If this video resonated with you, don't forget to like, comment, number 1 below, and subscribe so you never miss another insight that will completely change the way you approach relationships. And remember, you are always in control of your own value. The moment you start acting like the prize, you become the prize. Stay strong, stay confident, and never settle for anything less than the love and respect you really deserve.